afternoon, and welcome to the Admissions Counseling Series presentation on additional application attachments. My name is Maria Lambie. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Northern Kentucky University Chase College of Law. In the law school admissions world, an additional application attachment is also referred to as an addendum or an addenda if you're submitting plural. So what is an addendum? It's an additional writing that you're going to submit in order to provide more detailed information to help an admissions committee fill in any gaps or possible problematic areas on your law school application. So when is it appropriate for you to attach an addendum to your law school application? There are many areas where it may be appropriate, and this list may not be all inclusive, but these are the most common areas that individuals tend to address in a law school addendum. The big area is in regards to character and fitness. So if you answer yes to any of the character and fitness questions on a law school application, you're going to have to submit an addendum addressing that answer. You're going to want to read those questions really carefully to make sure that you're answering appropriately. Some of the more common areas that individuals need to address as far as character and fitness would be any criminal acts or any acts of violence, even if they were not prosecuted criminally. If you were accused or found to be guilty of any sort of academic or employment misconduct, so things like plagiarism or harassment would need to be disclosed. And another common area of issue would be anything related to any sort of financial mismanagement. Individuals also often choose to address items such as having a low GPA or a low LSAT score in an addendum. And then you may also be interested in writing an addendum if you are applying for a diversity scholarship. So that would be a required writing for our school, and it's similar at many other schools. So the next thing I want to cover is how you format your addendum. An addendum is not meant to be a long writing. You want to make sure that you keep it brief and to the point. An addendum should only comprise of 1 to 3 paragraphs. You're going to hear conflicting advice about the structure of an addendum. Some individuals are going to recommend that you write it in traditional essay format, and some individuals feel that it's not necessary. I think that there are a couple of reasons that essay format is helpful. I think the first reason is it helps make sure that you have written a structured argument. And then it also helps to ensure that it is clear and that you have included the information that you needed to include, and you have been clear about what you are trying to say. So I personally tend to lead towards writing it in traditional essay format. If it's something very brief and simple, doing something like starting off with a topical sentence, explaining what you're writing about, and then a few supporting sentences may also be sufficient. So it's going to depend on what you're writing about and how in-depth the issue is, what format you choose. I, however, do lean towards writing an essay format. So you're going to start off with an introduction, so talk about what you're writing about, and then you're going to go into a body where you're going to go into more detail, referencing dates, locations, any other relevant facts, and if applicable, if there was a final disposition to the event, and then finish off with a normal conclusion. When you're writing your addendum, you do want to make sure that you keep a professional tone and ensure that you are following proper grammar and spelling rules, as it does serve as another writing sample in your law school application. So you might be wondering, what are law school admissions committees going to see as red flags when they're reviewing your law school application files? So some of the things that tend to look problematic are if you have a pattern of disrespecting the law, if it's a habitual problem happening over and over again, and also if it continues to be a problem at the present time. So I just want to finish off this presentation with some do's and don'ts regarding writing a law school addendum. You do want to be honest and forthcoming when writing your addendum. If it comes to light that you did not provide full disclosure in your addendum after it's submitted, that is not going to reflect favorably on you. So we always recommend that you are as candid as possible in writing an addendum. You do want to err on the side of inclusion, especially if you're writing about a character and fitness issue. So if you're not sure, but you feel like you may need to disclose, just go ahead and err on the side of disclosure. When you're writing your addendum, you do want to explain, but don't make excuses. You want to be as objective as possible. I feel like it helps to think of your addendum as a statement of facts. So just keep it objective and factually related. If you've undertaken any rehabilitative efforts, then you want to also make sure and include that information in an addendum. So for example, say you have had some drug-related convictions in the past. However, you subsequently entered rehab and have been able to maintain sobriety for several years and have not had any further convictions. That would be rehabilitative efforts that you have taken that have been successful, and the committee is going to want to hear that information. So we're going to spend our last slide talking about the don'ts regarding writing your law school application addendum. This is not the place to include emotion and personality. I've already mentioned it's best to think about it as a statement of fact. Make sure you just stick to the relevant information the committee needs to assess the information. You don't want to over-explain. And the problem with over-explaining is individuals often go down the rabbit hole of making excuses when they hit the over-explain mode. So just make sure and just keep it as simple, straightforward, and factually based as you can. You don't want to write an unnecessary addendum. So I think in general, most of us like to think that more is better. As relates to your law school application, this is not necessarily going to be the case. Again, when writing your addendum, make sure that it's necessary and you're not just adding more information in your application that's not going to be informative or helpful to the committee. And then my last tip is don't forget to update your addendum. An example of when this might be appropriate is if you have been charged with a crime at the time of application. However, the charges are later dismissed during the review process. You would want to write a new addendum or an additional addendum, a revised addendum or an additional addendum, depending on the situation, and just submit that to the law schools to which you are applying. So again, I want to thank you for being with us today for our brief presentation on law school application, additional attachments. I'd like to invite you to reach out to us with any questions that you might have about the law school application process. And also feel free to reach out for any one-on-one counseling that you would be interested in. I look forward to hearing from you.